So we got a case right now that's playing out in the courts in Michigan that I'm reporting on because it has to do with a gang that's based in Chicago, even though this gang is spread far beyond Chicago now, man. But there was a guy that was arrested back in December of last year, so a couple months ago, and he was charged with supplying weapons, or at least producing weapons, for a potential war between the Hells Angels motorcycle gang and their rivals, and that's a gang that I've spoken on a lot in videos, man. The Outlaws MC. So that is something that's like kind of speculation, okay? Because the Outlaws MC, and I just reported on a couple months ago, like them possibly getting into a war with the Mongols because the Mongols were trying to come here. But these biker wars sometimes, it do get overblown in the media and kind of blown out of proportion, and I include myself in that. A lot of people had taken issue with that video that I dropped because I was referring to them as a gang. Here's the thing about that, the media, and this includes social media like YouTube, bloggers, the mainstream media, everybody's going to follow the lead of law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this to point the finger at law enforcement, but they have their reasons that goes by a very specific protocol for categorizing somebody as one thing or the other. If you fall within those parameters that they set for characterizing somebody as a gang, they're going to call you a gang. I mean, that's just the way it goes, and that's on the people that are, doing those activities to bear that responsibility. And the people in the club, like if they don't want to have that label on them, they got to find a way to separate themselves from the guys that are doing that. I'm not saying that, that term to characterize everybody in those clubs or whatever you want to call them as gang members, as criminals. Not everybody in those clubs might be criminals, but if there's some guys in there that are doing criminal activity and they're using the club for protection or organization or to network or whatever it might be, then they're giving the club that function on some level. Not every club member necessarily has to be involved for it to be put to the use for which it would be called a gang. You see what I'm saying? This is a very technical thing that's going on here as far as the feds and law enforcement, and then subsequently the media giving it that term. So anybody that has issue with that term, like, you got to look at exactly why these so-called clubs are being called that. They do engage some of their members, I'm not saying all, in certain activities that can be characterized as gang activity. Now, a lot of people, on that video were saying, well, the feds are a bigger gang and the cops are a bigger gang. All I can say about that is when they do that, the ones who do that, they're turning their group of guys who are involved in that basically into a quasi gang too. It's both and, what I'm saying, not either or. Like, cops can definitely put their own unit or whatever to that use, and some do, you know. So, the ones who know about it and the ones who are involved, yeah, I mean, they're acting like gang members. So, but when that is found out, though, that's something that there can be a public backlash, and then they can hold the politicians accountable to remove the right people and do the right things to change that. But there's a process for that. But anyways, man, I'm digressing from the story. So a guy from Michigan, he's accused of building fully automatic machine guns and silencers for motorcycle clubs that he claimed were preparing for, quote, war with the Hells Angels. Now, I had mentioned to you guys in a previous video that the Hells Angels are like a big enemy of like a lot of these motorcycle gangs and or motorcycle clubs. The Outlaws MC here in Chicago, man, is one of the biggest enemies. At least, I'm not saying that they're currently at war over here, but just as far as like, not getting along. A guy named Jason Myers, 53, of Rose City, Michigan, is named in a criminal complaint that was filed back in November. He's accused of dealing firearms without a license. So this is a very interesting turn of events. He apparently was like, supplying the Outlaws and a motorcycle club called the Avengers for a potential war with the Hells Angels. So on September 16th, members of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives had obtained information that he was selling and manufacturing, both manufacturing and selling machine guns and silencers. And apparently he was bragging about supplying weapons to the Outlaws and the Avengers. And he had sold weapons, including a 22 caliber, 12-gauge shotgun, and a 9mm pistol that the feds were able to find out about. Now, those were specific transactions that the feds were able to get information about. As far as the total volume of his sales, Doesn't say anything about that, but apparently he also sold ice, which is street slang for crystal methamphetamine. And apparently this guy, Jason Myers, both uses and sells that drug. And this is something, too, that I find common in motorcycle clubs, as far as like the use of drugs like that. A lot of guys in there, just what I see, they're using and they're selling that stuff, man. So officials said that Jason Myers makes fully automatic machine guns, or at least they have information that suggests that he makes fully automatic machine guns out of assault rifle builds and fully automatic pistol builds. These are like rumors, okay? This is not like stuff that he admitted to agents. He was using titanium tubes with, quote, 9 cups for individual chambers drilled just for bullet size. And that, is for the silencer. So if you guys know how a silencer works, it's like a series of chambers, to basically muffle that sound. And to be honest with you, the best ones that I've ever heard, it's not going to make the thing totally quiet, but some of them do get the sound down very significantly, and that can obviously be a major advantage, when guys are committing crimes because it doesn't attract attention. So it can allow guys to get away more easily after they've just done something. So ATF agents, came upon this information. And apparently, he uses these titanium tubes for that. So he said the silencers are good for about 2,000 to 2,500 rounds before they wear out. He described the modifications that he does, saying he, quote, drills from the inside, takes this notch out, take that sear, drop it right on top, and it'll be fully automatic. So, they got this information that he's basically describing in precise detail exactly how he does this. He said, this is in the criminal complaint. He says, in my training and experience, Myers is describing the internal mechanism, which is a drop-in sear, and how it's installed in order to make a firearm fully automatic. Okay, so he allegedly also said that it takes him about 2 days because it's a very precise process. So that process includes drilling, machining, and internal boring. And he described the gas ports and how the gas was released into each chamber so that the pressure couldn't go outward. That makes the shots quiet, according to the criminal complaint. That's, as far as like how silencers work, basically, they channel the pressure like that, and basically reduce it step by step in those chambers until by the time, the bullet is exiting, the sound is minimal. So officials said that the drop-in referred to the sear, which converts the weapon to fully automatic, and the quiet time refers to the silencer. So these were code words that, were being used. And undercover agents were getting all this information, and they made a purchase. An undercover ATF agent went to Myers' house back on October 4th, and when they arrived, he was assembling an Anderson Manufacturing AM-15 rifle. So Myers said he had been in the military for 26 years, and while he was in the Marine Corps, he built and worked on firearms, which is why he still does, according to authorities. So there were several rifles leaning against his workshop, and the undercover agent was giving all this information. So when asked about an AR-15, Myers explained that it was loaded, fully automatic, and equipped with a night scope. So the undercover agent asked what the rifle cost, and Myers said that it was about $1,100, but it belongs to a, quote, customer named Chip. This is allegedly what he told the agents. So he also referenced a rifle barrel in the workshop, and the undercover agent asked if he could buy a rifle that day. Myers said that that was the barrel that he would put on the rifle because it was a match-grade barrel. But he told the agent, quote, I can do anything that you want. So Myers added that he makes very specific barrels for very specific guns. And Myers explained that he had a mill room next to the workshop and then showed the undercover agent the milling tools. So he also had a couple of vertical mills and a horizontal mill. So when the undercover agent held the rifle, he commented on how light it was. Myers told him that he used aircraft aluminum, which couldn't be tracked. So the agent asked if Myers had any silencers, and he said that he could make them. So Myers told the agent that he usually charges between $400 and $500 depending on the length of the silencers. He also showed the agent the piece of aluminum that he makes the drop-in sears out of, saying that he had a piece that he was going to use for, quote, one of the Jokers, meaning a member of the Jokers motorcycle club, and that's according to authorities. So he stated that there's about to be a war, referencing violence between the Hells Angels and the Outlaws. Okay, so that was what he was talking about when he was talking about the war. And to my knowledge, I haven't heard of any war like that going on, at least not here yet. So what he was talking about with that, I don't know. But officials said that he handed the agent a piece of aluminum that he would make into an auto sear out of, and he said, all you're going to do is just drop this in right below your trigger, and it's going to make it fully automatic. So he showed the agent a piece of paper with a drawing of a fully automatic sear, and the drawing was full of dimensions of the sear. And he told the agent that he couldn't sell the rifle and the aluminum to him at the same time. He said that he separates the sales between the two items and offered to meet the agent in the Flint area to deliver the auto seer, according to officials. So the agent said that there were multiple Maglite flashlights on his workbench that can be used to make silencers. So that's speculation, but they do use like the tubes of those flashlights. Apparently those things are pretty high quality. Those flashlights are like, not made out of cheap materials, and they can be used, to handle the pressure from these bullets, which is kind of amazing. But apparently, when the agent asked if those were silencers, he said no, but they will look like a flashlight and without the flashlight. So Myers said that they would be about 9.5 inches and made with 2 titanium caps with aluminum cones inside. After about 1,500 to 2,000 shots, the user can open one cap, dump the cones out, and put in another set of cones. So it's basically like you don't have to, get a whole new silencer. You can just change out these cones. And he said that he would provide 2 or 3 sets of cones. He described the sound of shot as being similar to a BB gun going off. Now, here's the thing about that is that a lot of BB guns are pretty loud. I mean, BB guns, the ones these days, these are not like the Red Ryder BB guns back in the day. I mean, they make some BB guns now that are quite loud. So I don't know exactly, what that says about the sound of these things. But the agents paid Myers about $1,100 for the Anderson Manufacturing AM-15 rifle. Myers asked how the agent wanted the rifle built and said, "So you want to go with a 16-inch barrel?" Myers said he was going to set the gun up to be fully automatic and put a flash hider on it. He said that he would sell the metal clips for about $15 each. So when asked how much the rifle would cost with a silencer and a full sear, Myers said $750 for the gun and $500 for the other 2 pieces. He said that it would cost about $1,200 total. So Myers told the undercover agent that there were 3 people ahead of him, so his order would be 4th in line. He put the rifle in a rifle bag and a magazine in another. The undercover agent called Myers and asked if the gun was ready. Myers said that he had just completed 3 of them that day and said the aluminum for the agent's gun was not in yet. He was waiting to get the aluminum from Boeing or Honeywell, according to authorities. Myers said once the gun was finished, he would bring it to the undercover agent the following day. Apparently on November 9th, authorities got word on the street that 2 known drug dealers had made a transaction. One had sold a Mossberg 500 pump-action shotgun for $300. And that's like really cheap, at least from what I know about that. That's like a really low price according to the criminal complaint. And apparently deputies came upon information that the shotgun had been altered by a, quote, known illegal gun dealer identified as Myers. Now, again, I don't know how many illegal gun dealers there are in that area. Here in Chicago, there's a lot. But as far as guys that can make silencers and stuff like that, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of guys that can do that. There's a lot of illegal gun dealers, but not a lot of silencers, man, from what I know. So one of the drug dealers allegedly said that he had bought the shotgun and several other guns directly from Myers, but he didn't tell that information to police. Police just picked that information up on the street. So the shotgun was left at one particular location, and authorities seized it. So the criminal complaint concludes that there's probable cause to charge Myers with dealing firearms without a license. So a lot of this information, as you guys can see from what they're saying here, is just coming from chatter that they're picking up on the streets. And I don't know how reliable a lot of this is, but he did have contact with that undercover agent who was telling him this stuff, but he never actually came through, as far as like the silencers with the agent, at least not from what I've heard so far. So how solid this case is, I don't know. But as far as a war actually happening between the Angels and the Outlaws, I haven't heard of anything around here going on like that in a long time. Now, any of you guys in the comments can say, if you're from the Michigan, if you're from the Detroit area up in Michigan, if anything like that has been going on up there. But as far as around here, I haven't heard of anything between the Angels and the Outlaws in years. The only thing that I've heard of recently with the Outlaws is, that incident that had taken place with the Mongols that had, kind of provoked the media to speculate that there might be a war going on between, those 2 groups, or on the horizon, potentially a war between those 2 groups, man. But as far as the Hells Angels and the Outlaws, I haven't heard of anything like that going on around here in a long time, man. But you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section, man. Should they come down hard on the gun plugs, or are they just going after guys who are just trying to make a buck, or should they just follow the gun plugs, and use them to track down the guys who are actually doing the killing? Now, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, though, man. It's very interesting. Your boy Winnie C. Report. I'm out.